So I'm home alone. So I'm kind of obsessed with them and addicted at this point. I didn't see this coming. People like to eat other people. Very disturbing and disgusting. I remember when I was shipping them. Yeah, not anymore. I feel like I want to. Definitely some shady stuff going on at that lighthouse. Like you're asking for the supernatural force to mess with you. Obviously there's more than one ghostie, and now you've woken them up and you're locked in this house. Like, good luck. Of course it's the sound of a baby crying. Have you never heard of a paranormal entity trying to lure you into the woods? Hello everyone, welcome to the reading vlog. I first off want to say I can't tell if my hair looks okay. To be honest, it took a lot to get it to look this tamed down. I have a lion's mane, okay? It's just a part of who I am. And I try not to use heat on my hair, and I'm still learning how to handle these waves, curls, I don't even know. If you have tips, leave them in the comments. But moving on to the actual reading vlog, I am so excited. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you do like reading vlogs, because this one is gonna be so fun. So in today's reading vlog, we are going to be reading the highest rated book on my January TBR and the lowest rated book on my January TBR. Widow's Point is the highest rated, so I'm very excited. It's kind of a spookier, creepier book. So I can't wait to get to this in this vlog. I think I'll have crazy reactions, and from what I've heard, it is really spooky, so I can't wait. I love a spooky book. So I'm a girl that gets scared at scary movies for sure and horror movies, but I will say when I'm reading a horror book, I don't get as scared and I'm able to enjoy it more than when it's a movie. And while I'm filming this, my husband has actually gone on a work trip, so I'm home alone. Well, with my two dogs, luckily. We have Ollie back there, and my other dog is in another room because she does not like to hang out. She likes to go under a blanket and say, go away. My two dogs are all I have for comfort in this trying time of reading scary books, because this is my highest rated book on the TBR, but my lowest rated on the TBR is Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke, which is also a creepy book, and I'm excited, so excited for both of them. Both of these books may be the two that I was the most excited for on my entire like bookshelf TBR in general when it comes to spooky books. There's no better feeling than when you're really excited for a book and you're right about to dive into it, and it's just, there's no better feeling. But yeah, so that is going to be the reading vlog today, is reading these two books. I probably won't get both of them done today, but I will definitely try to get this one done today and then start this one tomorrow. But with that being said, I wanted to start with the lowest rated one because it's tinier, so it's a little bit easier to get going, and two, because I figured we'd end on a high note, right? I feel like that makes sense. So I did want to say I just started this like 20 minutes ago because I just wanted to get my foot in the door of it to have something to tell you guys before I did this intro. So I wrote down some notes on what's going on in the very beginning, because I feel like I need to do that more often when I'm doing reading vlogs, is like really keep in mind what's happening in the very beginning of a book, because that's the stuff I can tell you guys without it being a spoiler. So that's what I'm going to try to do with what I'm about to tell you guys. So with Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke, there was one line in one of the very first pages that I just thought, I was like, dang, that's deep. And I was just like, that really makes you think. And it was, after all, what exactly is a family, if not a brotherhood and sisterhood afflicted with the same terminal disease? Like, right? I was just like, okay. The book starts off, because I didn't know anything about this book, and I will say I always recommend going into any kind of scary book not knowing anything, just because I find that you get more surprised and scared more easily. I know when I'm watching reading vlogs, sometimes I'm like, I wish they wouldn't say as much about the book, but then I'm like, actually, you know what? It doesn't really matter, because it either gets me to want to read the book or I forget what they even said by the time that I do read the book, and so it didn't even matter anyway. So, but I'm not gonna spoil anything. It's just gonna be, I'm gonna try to be a little bit more in depth with my discussion of the book with you guys without spoiling. In the new year, we're trying to be a little bit more in depth, okay? So in the very beginning of the book, there's this little author's note that says that what you're about to read, at least the first portion, because I think there's like 3 acts or 3 parts that are all different stories, I believe. But for the first one, it tells you that what you're about to read has to do with Agnes and Zoe. Agnes is a 24-year-old, 23-year-old, early 20s woman who has met an untimely death. and somehow Zoe may have something to do with it. That's what we're told in the very beginning, first page. So it starts off with a post on a queer like chat site / I think it's supposed to be like Reddit, but queer type of thing. And you can also solicit. And Agnes, our untimely death girly, she is selling an antique apple peeler with a very decorated, maybe not decorated, but a very colorful past. I don't want to say anything because it's a surprise and I think you should not know it going in. So Agnes is selling an antique apple peeler with a colorful past, and she has a whole story about it in her post. Cut to the next like chapter or whatever is an email from Zoe saying, I would like to buy your antique apple peeler and here's why. That's where I'm at so far, is literally just that. So it seems to be, it starts off with that post and then now it's just an email correspondence, and I think that might be all it is for the whole story, which is very cool. I love when books do that. Like, I know some people hate when books use like emails or texting like language and stuff. I love that. I remember in high school or middle school maybe, or maybe you guys have also read the book or know what I'm talking about. There was a book where it was literally all text messaging, and when I found that when I was like in middle school or high school, I was so excited about it. I was like, this is so fun. Like, it's just fun. It's such a nice, like, just different thing, I feel like, you know? And sometimes it's just nice to have a book that's in a different kind of style or outline. I don't even know what word I'm looking for. There's a cat outside. I feel like it's stalking something. Oh, dude, cats are crazy. The way this cat jumped a fence, a huge fence, just was like, jump. Like, my dog could never do that. He could try. He would just jump up and forget that like you have to like grab it and jump over. He would just be jumping. Like, so yeah, that's where we're at. That is the very start of the book. I am loving it already. This is such my type of book, to be honest. I'm loving it already because it just feels weird and different. And I read a lot, so I just feel like I need that sometimes. I need something that's just really unique and weird, just so I can kind of almost like have a palate cleanser, I guess. Yeah, so for now, we're just gonna keep reading and I'll check in with you guys in a bit. Okay, so I am on page 57. There's not really chapters because again, it's just like email correspondence, and then there's also some chat room stuff between them. It really is all just between Zoe and Agnes, and it seems like we're kind of watching a relationship start to grow, and it seems like Agnes is more reserved and she's very safe in her comfort. I feel like she might be a Taurus. I'm a Taurus, and we love our comfort. She makes a comment about feeling like she's in this huge shell and she just wants to shed her skin, whatever. And she's very hard pressed for money. She is not financially doing well. And then Zoe, on the other hand, somehow for some reason has quite a bit of money at her disposal. And she seems a little bit more willing to be like outgoing in the sense of like do something crazy. She seems more of that vibe. So we're kind of at this point just watching their relationship blossom, and that's kind of it so far. But I just wanted to give you guys that update because I'm about to go make some coffee. And by make some coffee, I mean pour it from a can into a glass. So let's go do that. Okay, so normally I would use this long glass straw that came with the cup, but yesterday I drank out of a smaller glass straw, and when I took the glass straw out, the bottom of it had a tiny little crack of like a little piece of glass had fallen off, and I still have no idea if I drank it or not. And I was like, okay, you know what? No glass. And I had just seen that TikTok where that happened to that girl, and I was like, couldn't it be me? Turns out it could. So I threw away all my glass straws because I'm not doing that anymore. So we're gonna use a plastic straw. It's probably not that much better, whatever. I don't know. I probably consume so many plastics a day. Does it really matter at this point? I don't know. Okay, so now I have my coffee. I've been obsessed with these iced coffees since my husband's been on his work trip. He usually makes the lattes in the morning, and I know how to make them, but I had one of those iced coffees in the fridge when he was gone, and I was like, you know what, I don't feel like making the latte, I'm just gonna have that. And then I had it and I was like, this is really good. So I'm kind of obsessed with them and addicted at this point. So but I've had like lattes from a can, and I usually do not like them because they're either too sweet or they taste too much like coffee. This is such a good balance where it's like, this isn't an ad either. This is such a good balance where it's just like, it tastes like a cold brew with milk. Okay, actually. And I think it's oat milk too, which is nice. So I just bought like 6 of them from Kroger the other day. So I'm set for a little bit. But yeah, we are going to sip on our coffee and keep reading. I am eating this book up. I don't know how this is possibly the lowest rated book on my January TBR. Maybe I just have a very like highly rated in general January TBR, but I mean, I don't know. I was surprised that this was the least that I wanted to read this one, and I was like, oh, that's perfect to read Widow's Point and this one in a reading vlog. But I was very surprised to find that this was the lowest rated. But I also wonder if it's just because it is the smallest. I think it is the smallest. Yeah, and I guess it's definitely, I feel like, an acquired taste. You have to like this kind of stuff. But I feel like if you like any kind of movies or books where it's focused on something creepy that happened in 2000, like the early 2000s, that has to do with like messaging and that kind of thing, where like the internet's kind of just becoming a real thing in the world and people are like starting to go in chat rooms more frequently. I feel like I love that kind of horror and that kind of creepiness. So I'm eating this up, but if you're not really into that, I can see how you wouldn't enjoy it. But I can kind of almost like feel the loneliness and the dread in a good way in this, where it's just like it's building and I can feel that. So I'm very, very curious to see where this goes. I honestly have no idea where it's going. At this point, I'm kind of rooting for them. I'm kind of like, oh, Agnes, Zoe, like meet in real life. Like I kind of love, I'm shipping you guys together. So I'm gonna keep reading. Oh my gosh, I love this. Okay. Yeah, I'm here for Zoe and Agnes. I think Zoe's bringing out like a very sexual, powerful side of Agnes that Agnes didn't even know that she possessed. And I am living for that. So, okay, so things just took a turn and I'm not quite shipping them anymore. That was so quick. Like I just talked to you guys less than 5 minutes ago, I feel like. And things have turned. Things have turned. I didn't see this coming. I'm a little distrusting of Zoe right now and what she is saying, because I feel like she's telling Agnes what she wants and asking if Agnes is willing to do it for her. Whatever this may be, I'm not going to tell you. But Agnes is saying yes, of course. And what Zoe is asking, I on a surface level understand what that is and everything. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. And for some reason, I just have this feeling that on the surface level, that's what she's actually asking, but there's something deeper and maybe more sinister that's actually being asked, but I don't know. So we're gonna keep reading, but I'm just gonna say things have taken a turn. Okay, hey, little update. I just wanted to say I really like this like paragraph / sentences. I'm sorry if you can hear Bob heavy breathing right next to me. He's just like, he sounds like he has a mask on right now. Like, I thought this was kind of cute, also kind of disturbing, but I'm choosing to view it a little bit more cute. But basically, Agnes in this moment has done something she's wanted to do, but just never felt powerful enough to do it. And she talks about how the planet is a carnivore and wants to be fed, and people want that as well. People like to eat other people. Obviously, I don't think she's talking figuratively, but I think she's talking about just like the concept of people sometimes wanting to like consume other people's, whether it's consume other people's power or love or beauty, anything like that. Do you know what I mean? I feel like that's what she's talking about. And she says, I spent so many years forgetting I had teeth too. And I'm like, oh girl, that's powerful. Because it is true. Like sometimes if you're always the one being fed on, why do I immediately think of vampires? But when you're always the one being fed on, the weaker one, sometimes you forget like, oh, wait, we're both human. I have teeth too. Like, I'm not defenseless. So anyways, I just thought that was kind of cool to think about. And then she says to Zoe, this was like cute. Cute in a kind of disturbing way, but also just like, I was like, that's so sweet though, kind of. She says, I know you'll take care of me. You won't eat me, no matter how much you enjoy the way I taste. I don't know. It spoke to me. Okay, continuing on. Okay, I want to say right now, I was not aware that there was going to be like animal cruelty in here. I want to warn you, if you're not a fan of it, who's a fan of it? Like I'm a fan of animal cruelty. Like, no. But I'm just saying if it triggers you. I would say for me personally, I just don't like reading about it in general. Obviously, like, I'd prefer if books just didn't have it in it. I can handle it to move the plot forward. I mean, it's not even really happening because it's fiction, so it's like, keep that in mind. But it's also, as long as it's not dogs or, I don't know, like household pets, I feel like I can handle it a little bit better and like just move on with the story without it affecting me greatly. But if it's like a dog or something, which it's not, so in this book, so far anyway. So like when it's not a dog, I feel like I can kind of just be like, okay, I understand, and like move on. And it's, I don't like it. I don't enjoy that part of it, but it's like, I can handle it, I guess. I don't know. If I'm making any sense, let me know. But I'm just saying that there is some animal cruelty if you guys just can't handle that at all, which I don't even blame you, because I'm literally sitting here, me reading this part was like, I was just like, what is going on? And then I don't I'm on page 99. So if you know, you know, if you've read this book before, but I just got to the part where Agnes is talking about a rabbit, and it is a very disturbing story. And if that's true, which I'm assuming it wouldn't be in the book if it weren't true, even though it is fiction, because it was like describing something that I guess happens in the wild with rabbits. But anyways, what it was saying was very disturbing and disgusting, and it's taken a turn. Like, I was not expecting it to go where it has gone, and there's still quite a few pages left of Agnes and Zoe's story, because I think there's like 3 different stories in this one little book. So we are coming to the end, but where it is now, I have no idea where this is going or how it's going to end up in Agnes's untimely demise. Like, I have no idea. I will say though, when it comes to books like this, my number one thing is, do I feel creeped out? Because that's what I want from books like this. And I will say that I am getting that like creeped out feeling. So it's doing its job. I don't love the animal cruelty part though. I just wish that books didn't have to have that in there. I understand that it's something that happens in real life, because some people are horrible people, like awful human beings. But it's just like, because I'm sorry, but to hurt any kind of living creature just to do it, I don't understand the mindset of anyone that could do that. So it's just like, I don't like reading about it. And I wish that books like this, because I find that happens a lot in extreme horror or weird horror. I feel like they always throw in one, sexual horror, like something disturbingly gross and horrifying that has to do with some kind of sexual thing. And then another thing that they always throw in, or oftentimes do, is animal cruelty, because I feel like that's one of the most horrifying things to most people. So it's like, I don't like that, and I wish that we could have more extreme horror without those 2 things. Like, I don't know why it always has to be those 2 things for extreme horror. Not saying that I'm not liking the book, because I am liking it, but I feel like I would have enjoyed it more if those things hadn't been in there. I feel like you could have done the story a lot differently without adding those things, and it could have been a lot more creepy and maybe subtle. I don't know. I'm just spouting off at the mouth. I don't know. These are just my literal fresh thoughts after just now reading it. So I'm gonna keep reading, and I think I'll probably wait to update you guys maybe until I finish completely Agnes and Zoe's story, and then we'll move on to the next one and I'll like introduce it. Yeah, okay. Okay, another warning. This comes literally the next email response, I feel like. I literally spoke to you guys less than 5 minutes ago once again, but I just feel like you guys need to know too, there is depictions and descriptions of a child, like a baby, being demised in a very horrifying way. So I kind of don't like that. This book is a bit more gory than I was anticipating. I don't know why I thought it wouldn't. I guess I was expecting more of like a creepypasta rather than like gory descriptions of horrific things, which is kind of what I feel like is happening every once in a while. And then other than that, there's not much horror going on. Like, that seems to be the most like disturbing and horrifying stuff that is being told. I don't know where I stand with this book, and I feel like I'm understanding now why maybe this was the lowest rated book on my TBR, because I feel like I can't be the only one that was expecting something a little bit different than what I'm reading. So I feel like maybe people had expectations and then they were like, this was not what I expected at all, and then they were a little bit disappointed. I'm not disappointed yet. I haven't gotten to the end, obviously, of their story, but I just feel like a lot of things, I get why they're thrown in. I just feel like it could have been done differently, and I would have preferred it done differently, but I also am a person that prefers like a psychological horror. I like horror where it's not reliant on gore, and it's not reliant on like descriptions of how a baby was demised. I'm gonna say demise because I don't even like thinking about it, but you know what I mean? Or an animal. Like, I don't feel like that's scary to me. It's just sad. I mean, it's scary that someone could do that, but like mostly it's just freaking sad. So it's like, that doesn't make me creeped out. It just kind of makes me depressed. So I'm just like, I'm not getting what I wanted to get out of this so far. I'm glad I'm reading it during daylight, because otherwise I feel like it'd be dark outside. And then if I was reading the dark stuff that's in this book, I'd be like, what's the point? People are literally horrible. Like, humans are despicable. But luckily the light is still outside and I'm almost done with their story. So hopefully the rest won't be as sad. I guess that is the horrifying part though, right? Like, that is a lot of horror, is that it's horrifying because it's rooted in a bit of truth of people do these things that are depicted in here. Horrible, horrible people, but like, it does happen. So that's why it's horrifying, I guess. I don't know. I just don't love reading about it. I thought that it was going to be a little bit different, but I'm going to keep going because I will say I am intrigued and I want to know what happens in the end. Like, I'm definitely hooked on the story and the plot for sure. I just feel like a lot of the gore descriptions that have happened, I didn't feel like they were necessary. Okay, let's keep going. I will say one thing. I have only read like a little over 100 pages and I have already had so much to say. So I will give it to the book that it's definitely like provoking thoughts. It's thought provoking. How about that? There's a lot of, in this story specifically between Agnes and Zoe, just like the way it's playing out and the conversations that are happening, there's a lot of talk about how there are so many more worse people than us. Like, and that sometimes people feel like it's okay to hurt other people because the way that they're hurting other people isn't as bad as the way other people might hurt other people. And I get that maybe some people think that way, but I have to say my thoughts on that is just, I don't think that we should be measuring like, oh, well, I'm a good person because I haven't unalived 15 people like some other people have. Like, I don't think that's a good measure of like if you're a good person or not. I feel like it's one of those things though where it's like, well, you wouldn't measure your running capability to a person who's an Olympic athlete. So why would you measure your moral goodness to someone that is completely morally corrupt, right? Like, I feel like that's no way to live and that's no way to view morality. I just don't think that that's productive at all to think that way. And it also just doesn't logically make much sense. Anyways, that's a big talk in here in their conversation between each other, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't think that's how that works, but okay. I'm sorry, but the red flags, I remember when I was shipping them. Yeah, not anymore. Right after I checked in with you guys and was like, I'm shipping them, I love them. Literally within 5 minutes of saying that, I was like, okay, never mind. Actually, they need to get away from each other immediately. They are all the red flags. Zoe mostly is the red flag, but I will say Agnes is like the perfect victim, I would say, in this, because she's been hurt so much that I feel like she's just being taken advantage of personally. But yeah, okay, so red flags all around. These two should have nothing to do with each other. I don't yet see where it's going and how it's going to lead to Agnes's demise. I still don't know where that's going to leave off, but I can definitely see like the red flags of, you should probably stop talking to this woman. Like, she is not a good person at all. If she's willing to treat you the way that she is, like, I'm pretty sure my dog just farted and that's why he got off the couch, because now he crop dusted me, so that's great. Anyways, I'm gonna keep reading and we'll see where it takes us. We haven't finished Agnes and Zoe's story yet, but I wanted to jump in here before I forget to say it, because I feel like sometimes I'll think things and then if I forget to tell you guys, I'll just forget to say it at all if I don't tell you guys right in the moment after reading it. There is animal cruelty to a cat. So not animal cruelty, but a description of something happening to a cat that makes it unalived. So I didn't love that at all. And also there's something with raw meat and maggots. And if you don't like that, which I don't, this book might not be for you. I almost want to do a video now of reading this so you don't have to, where I just like tell you guys the plot points if you're not interested in actually reading it. Because I know I love those videos when people do that with extreme horror, especially because a lot of times extreme horror is way too extreme for me, but I still want to, I have that scratch in my brain that really wants to know what the story's about without actually having to read it, because I can't handle a lot of that extreme horror stuff when I'm actually having to read the story. I would rather someone tell me in like quick little points just the plot of what happens. It's just really gross. I'm not saying it's bad, it's just really gross, and I don't know that that's what I wasn't expecting that. I was thinking that because it would be between like Messenger and Reddit threads. Well, I thought it was going to be more of like Reddit threads rather than email and Messenger. I don't know why, I just did. I thought there would just be a lot more mystery behind everything, but they're flat out just like emailing each other full freaking pages of things. So like everything's out in the open. There's nothing really mysterious. We're just watching this crazy, horrible story unveil itself. I hate reading the gross stuff like that. I can't do maggots and things. I feel like I want to vomit. That's how gross this book is. Yeah, so I just wanted to warn you guys that if that stuff is triggering for you, or if you just like prefer not to read that kind of stuff, I would highly recommend skipping this book. But then again, okay, this is all just the first part of the book and the first story. So I don't know if the other stories are going to be as gross. Let's keep reading. Okay, so I finished, I'm about, halfway through? Oh, I think I'm over halfway through. I think I'm probably gonna get done with this in the next few hours. That's crazy. Okay, so I finished Agnes and Zoe's story. It did not end in a way that I predicted at all. I don't know that I had many predictions though, because it was such a fast read that I didn't really have that much time to reflect on what I thought was gonna happen in the end. I will say that I thought the ending, the way that it incorporated some of the things that happened throughout the story, I really liked how it kind of called back on those things in the end of the story, and it was just kind of like, oh, that's a callback. That's what I kept thinking. I was like, ooh, with that story in itself, because I feel like I should review this book in parts of like, the first part is this story, so let's talk about it. So it's 3 completely different stories that have nothing to do with each other. So let's just talk about this first one. If the book was just this one story, I feel like it's a fine horror novella. Like if it were just this story. The story was gross, and I'm sorry if you can hear my dog in the living room chewing his bone. He's doing it very, very loudly. He has no respect for my filming. But I have to say, if so far from just that story, I kind of am getting why it was not highly rated, because I think I would give that story a 3, only because it's not my favorite kind of horror. But I feel like a lot of times with horror books, it really is subjective, because I just feel like it really depends on what you enjoy within horror, on if you're gonna like a specific story or not. I really liked the way that it was written. I wish there wouldn't have been animal cruelty. I wish there wouldn't have had anything to do with maggots and like raw meat. It grosses me out to know. I don't like to be grossed out. I will say that with horror, I don't like being grossed out. Why is that a thing? Like, why is gross out horror even a thing, in my opinion? Like, I don't get it at all, because like, why do you want to be grossed out? Like, I'm just not that person. I like a psychological horror. I like when it has something to do with like, I like a psychological horror. What I'm really saying is I like a thriller. But I do like horror sometimes when it's just weird and out there. But I don't like when it utilizes animal cruelty, maggots and raw meat, and just like gore. Because that to me, I either just get grossed out or I get bored. Or in this one, I will say the way that it was gory was definitely not boring, because it wasn't like action type of gore. It was more really sad, gory stuff. So far, based on that story, I'm gonna give it a 3. But I will say, I kind of, as we read the other stories, because there's 2 more, at the end of each one, I'll kind of rate that story in itself. And then I think when I'm done with all of them, I'll go and like rate the whole book based off of the average of all 3 stories of what I rated them. So yeah, and then we'll rank the stories too. I'll rank the stories of which one I liked the most, and obviously which one I liked the least. You guys know how ranking works. I don't have to explain that to you. I think I'm gonna break for breakfast. I'm gonna make a smoothie, and then I'm going to keep reading, and we'll see how the next story goes. I'll let you guys know little things about it. It's honestly making me so excited for Widow's Point, because I'm like, there's no way that Widow's Point is gonna be like this. Hopefully, I don't know. Anyways, okay, I'm gonna go make a smoothie, and then I'll talk to you guys in a minute. So I'm a couple chapters into the next story. I am a little disappointed, because it does seem like the rest of the story, so the next 2 stories, don't have anything to do with being like a Reddit thread or emails or anything like that. They're just flat out like short stories, which is fine. It's just not what I was expecting. And like, of course, I could have looked more into the book before I bought it. But I will say again, I personally like to go into these kinds of scarier stories knowing nothing. So I tried to look up as little as possible about it beforehand. So that's why I just didn't know, because I didn't want to know. But it's not that I'm not liking the second story. I just was really hoping it would be like emails and stuff, and it's not, or through like messaging. I just find that so fun, especially in a horror book. So a little disappointed in that aspect, but you know, it's not the end all be all or anything. It's not like ruining it for me. It just is a little disappointing. But I wanted to give you guys a little introduction to what the second story is about, out, again, without spoiling it, just kind of what we learn in the first chapter. So we're following Milo, is 17-year-old boy. It's his birthday, and his parents, Olive and James, are there to surprise him and be like, oh my gosh, surprise, happy birthday. And he didn't expect them to be there or remember his birthday. So that must mean that they're being a little distant from him for some reason. And also it sounds like Olive and James recently either separated or full on got divorced. So Milo is dealing with his parents getting a divorce. But also in the world that the story is taking place in, a big thing that is being told is that there is no afterlife, so that the afterlife just doesn't exist, heaven, hell. Like, it's, I get, not that it's been proven, I don't really understand. I guess it's just kind of everyone's believing now that there is no afterlife. How they're believing that, I don't know. Milo seems to be a heavily devout Christian, prays 8 times a day or something like that, and just kind of obsessive with it, like almost OCD about his Christianity and whatever. So he seems to have a little something going on in his head that's not all right when it comes to his religious beliefs and whatever, just like something's off. And that's all I want to say, because literally in the next chapter, like the first chapter is kind of that introduction into like, this is the world and the people that we're gonna read about now. And then the second chapter, like something crazy happens or something horrifying and crazy happens. So that's all I'm gonna set up for you with that. But I will say I have no idea what this story is going. Okay, we're gonna keep reading. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I definitely am kind of liking this one a little bit more, simply because no maggots or animal cruelty has been brought up, but we literally are only on the second chapter, so it could always happen. So let's keep reading. Okay, so I finished the second story. I still have one more story to go. This is how far I am though. So as you can see, the last story is super short. Like, I'm probably gonna get it done in less than an hour. But okay, I wanted to talk about the second story, at least as much as I feel like I can, because I will say the second story, because so much even happens just right at the beginning, I can't really give you guys much setup because I just don't want to spoil anything. So with it, I'm just gonna say there's a lot of religious stuff and there's a lot of afterlife stuff and talk of, are ghosts real? Do ghosts exist? And like, what happens when you're gone? As I kept reading, the world that is set up here, they did prove that there is no afterlife. That's like what the setup is. That's the setup, and that's really all I can say. I don't know if I liked it because I kept reading it and hoping that the ending was just gonna blow my mind, and it didn't really. I feel like I've read way crazier stuff, and there was animal cruelty in it again with a cat. I mean, it was a very short and small part, but it did happen. So I'm just like, I don't like that, and I don't know. I thought I was gonna like this book so much, and I just feel like I keep getting disappointed. So far, do I like the first or the second story better? I think the first story spooked me more. Like, it was a little more disturbing and like, WTF. The second story, I don't know. I don't love religious horror. I don't love it. So I didn't love that. I don't know. And I just didn't think the end, like the story just wasn't very good in my opinion. I don't know. So I think I would rate the second story like a 2. And the first story would be a 3. Oh, wow. Okay. I'm kind of getting why this is the lowest rated book on my January TBR. But yeah, okay. You guys are probably just wanting me to finish this so that I can give you guys my thoughts. And I think I am going to do kind of a plot summary of this in a different video of reading this so you don't have to, because I have to say, I don't know that I would recommend it so far. And that's hilarious because I have like less than 50 pages to go. So I doubt that that's going to like completely change my mind about it. But so far it's just been kind of disappointing to what I thought it was going to be, which kind of sucks. But okay, let's finish. Okay, I have officially finished the book. So the last story, I don't know what I think. I think it's just that the endings in every single one of these stories like was just not what I wanted. I have to say, I don't know that the stories were for me personally. I think they just weren't my taste. I honestly don't think any of them were bad stories by any means or not well written or anything like that. I think it just wasn't my taste of horror. The last one might have been my favorite story, but I don't know that I liked it though. I liked that it was short, so it didn't take so long to get to the point, just because, I don't know, I feel like the point of a lot of these stories I kind of figured out pretty early on, and then it just felt like we were just waiting for the ending to happen. I never saw any of the endings coming, like the point of the story I did, if that makes sense. So it's like, I just wanted to know what the ending was because I already felt like, okay, I get the point you're trying to make. I just want to know what happens in the end. This was not what I expected, and I don't feel very creeped out, if I'm being honest. I feel like I was grossed out from the first story. The second story gave me an uneasy feeling, but that's just because it dealt with like religion stuff, and that just like makes me uneasy because it dealt with like the lengths people will go for their religion or their religious beliefs, and it just makes me feel uncomfortable, but not in like a way that I like horror to make me feel. Does that make sense? Like it just makes me feel uncomfortable, and like I wish I hadn't read that, or not that I wish I hadn't read it, but it just makes me feel uncomfortable, but not in a good way, because sometimes horror, like you feel uncomfortable and uneasy, but it's in a good like creepy way. None of these stories to me were very creepy. They were just kind of gross, uncomfortable, or the last one was interesting, and I think that's why I liked it more than the others. I'd probably rate it a 4, but it wasn't very scary. Like it wasn't creepy. So I think overall, the first story I'd rate a 3, the second story I would rate a 3 or 2, and the third story I would rate a 4, just because I do think it was a pretty good story. It wasn't my favorite story ever, but it was okay. So as a whole, I think I would end up rating this book a 3, because I don't think it's for everyone, because I don't know that it's even for me. It was kind of middle of the road horror for me, I think, which is disappointing. I thought it was going to be a 5-star for me, but when I saw how low the rating for it was, I was like, are you kidding? That's so funny, because I'm probably gonna end up rating it 5 stars. Like these people just don't know what they're talking about. But reading the author's note, which I feel like this always happens for me, especially with horror books for some reason. I'll read them, I'll think they're not that good. Then I read the author's note and I'm like, well, after reading the author's note, like I get what you were doing and I understand it, and I applaud you for creating something, because like I don't write books, so you're doing more than me. You know? So I commend you, but it doesn't make me like the work anymore than I did before. So anyways, it does make me connect to the work maybe a little bit more, hearing like why the author wrote what they did and the way that they did. But I was wishing this would have more mixed media, you know, within it. But yeah, so I think I'm gonna give it a 3. I need to rate it on Fable, so I'm gonna do that. But I think I'm just gonna give it a 3 because I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I thought it was middle of the road. And I feel like depending on who you are and what your book taste is, I would recommend. And then I also wouldn't recommend depending on what you like. So I think it's very middle of the road, because there's some horror or thriller books that it's like, even if you don't like thriller or horror books, I think anyone would like them. And I'll rate those a 4 or 5. But with this one, I do feel like it's a very specific taste. Okay, so I think I'm gonna end maybe vlogging here for the day and then pick it up tomorrow with Widow's Point and get into this one. I am very excited for this one, especially because it's so highly rated that now I'm like, maybe I should trust other people. So yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow when we start this. Good morning, you guys. It is the next day and I have started Widow's Point. I'm only 10 pages in, but I just wanted to give you guys kind of an introduction as to what it's about so far, or what I'm learning so far about it. I will say too, it is so cold outside right now. So the fact that I just have like my window right there next to me and it's very sunny out, even though it's cold. So I have like the sun coming in and I have my oversized, this is like a 3 times too big sweatshirt, and they are the best kind. It's the Taylor Eras Tour. I ordered it online. I never got to actually go to the Eras Tour. But anyways, it's my favorite sweatshirt because it's so big and cozy. So just know that I've reached flow state right now. I'm so cozy. It's so cold outside. I get to just be inside in my little reading chair, snuggled up reading a scary story. So I could not be happier. I'm glad that I'm at flow state now, but the way that I woke up this morning was my dog puking. So that's fun. You know that sound when you wake up and it's just like, and you're just like, I know what's coming, and you're so tired. You're like literally woken up from a dead sleep. Yeah, that was me this morning. So I am definitely very tired. I feel like my sleep got cut in half, but other than that, I could not be happier. Okay, so getting to the point, Widow's Point. Get it? Okay. So the very first page is actually email correspondence between 2 people. The one person is asking, is it done? And the other person's like, yeah, I got the chip from, they must have broken into a police officer's house or something and gotten like an SD card. I don't know. I don't know electronics. What was it? Hold on, let me double check. Hard drive. That's what it is, a hard. I'm like a floppy disk. Like, I don't know. And it takes place in 2025. I don't even know if floppy disks still exist. I'm old, okay? But okay, so the person broke into a cop's house and got a hard drive. And it seems like what's on the hard drive is footage from this haunted lighthouse. Widow's Point is what it's called. And then after those emails, that kind of clarifies, I got the hard drive, and then it kind of says, and then it says, meet me here, we'll switch, I'll have the hard drive then, and you'll never see me again. And then it turns into this guy emailing a girl who's like, oh my gosh, it's been so long, it's been like 5 years and I haven't heard from you. But she must work at a news station, because she's like, oh, I got the footage and everything's good, we'll put it out on the news, I'm assuming, and whatever. Then the last email message is from the guy who started all of this, who was like, did you get the hard drive? Who now has the hard drive and wants to give it to the news. And he's reaching out to the news girl saying, why have you ghosted me? Like, why aren't you responding? And why did you not post or I don't know if he wanted her to post the information or like put it on the news, but it just never happened. And she like isn't speaking to him. I'm thinking something happened to her. Conspiracy. I moved the camera a little because I feel like my glasses were having a really bad glare. It is very sunny outside. Like when I said it's sunny, I didn't mean it's like kind of sunny. I meant like the sun is out, which I love, because we definitely needed it a few degrees warmer. I feel like there's still a glare. I'm sorry. Either way. So that's the email correspondence. And then it turns into like video footage. And it just, before each like description, it'll say video/audio footage number like 3A. And then the next one is 4A. And then the next one's 5A, and so on. And it'll give the time, the date, and that's it. And then it'll have just like a description of what was on whatever tape was being recorded, which I'm loving because it's very entertaining, and I'm really liking the way and the speed. I'm sorry, I'm still really tired, so my brain feels like it's not working, but I love the speed. There's a word for that. The flow of the book, maybe. I love the way it's going so far. So the emails are taking place in 2025. Then it cuts to this footage that is obviously at Widow's Point, and it's in 2017. And I'm assuming that this footage is what was on the hard drive that was given to the girl at the news outlet. That's what I'm assuming, but I don't know that for sure. But it's in 2017, and it's a guy who writes books, a lot of supernatural books, and he's basically talking about the lighthouse, giving the history of the lighthouse, which has been like littered with people kicking the bucket, whether it's to themselves or to other people or their entire families. Some of them. Definitely some shady stuff going on at that lighthouse, whether it's supernatural or not. I don't know. I'm leaning towards it will be. This guy now in 2017 is going there, and the lighthouse hasn't been touched in like 20 years or something like that. I can't remember exactly how long, but it's around that. So it hasn't been touched because everyone's like, it's cursed, blah, 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 which honestly, like, yeah, how would you not think it's cursed? Like, you're literally asking for trouble by going there. But anyways, this author, he goes there and he's interviewing or just like talking to on camera, because the old man that he's interviewing doesn't seem like he really wants to be there, but it's the guy that owns the land that the lighthouse is on, I believe. But I don't think he ever like goes in there or keeps it or anything, like a lighthouse keeper. And yeah, so that's the introductions. It's just kind of introducing us to this haunted lighthouse, and that obviously it's kind of found footage vibes so far of this author man is, I think he's doing research for a book. I'm assuming will end up being the main reason that he's there. And I'm assuming he's going to kick the bucket somehow. So yeah, that's my prediction. One thing I wanted to note was, for some reason, and if you've read this book, tell me who you envisioned, because I'm definitely a person where when I'm reading a book, I envision the characters as actors and actresses while I'm reading, so that it's easier to kind of envision. At first, I kind of was picturing Liam Neeson, because there's a line where he's like, no one's been in the lighthouse for 20 years. Until now. And I just kept picturing Liam Neeson. But then as it kept going on, I was like, okay, actually I'm picturing Nicolas Cage. Nick Cage is my main character in this book. So that's who I'm picturing as I'm reading. So anyways, we will continue on, and I'll probably update you guys when I have my coffee. So I'll probably read for an hour or two, and then we'll finally get our coffee. Okay, really quick. Do you see Ollie? I wanted to make note. You could not pay me enough to spend a night in this lighthouse specifically, because hear me out. This man he's gonna spend the whole weekend, is his plan, to spend the whole weekend in the lighthouse. I understand if there's a lighthouse and there's one creepy story behind it of like one person kicking the bucket. I get that. Where it's kind of like, was it just a one-time thing? Like maybe it didn't actually have anything to do with the lighthouse. I could see where you'd have doubt there. There were over, what did it say? I think it said there were over 20 or 30 times that somebody did something to end someone else's or their own life in that lighthouse. So I'm just like, if there are actual recorded cases, like, and none of this is hearsay, it actually happened. How in the world are you going to like believe that you can go in there yourself and everything will be fine? I love it because it gives a story. Like now I get to read about a spooky lighthouse, but I'm just like, you cannot pay me enough. And also just like, how do you not think you're gonna end up dead? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, it's not like it's, oh, there's a spooky story that's probably just a legend. It's like there are recorded cases. You don't know if there's something supernatural, but like I would just assume they are and never step foot in there. And the person that owns the land does not want him to do it. He's like, are you sure I can't talk you out of this? And the guy's like, no, I'll be fine. And you know what he tells this man that owns the land to do for added effect for the internet? Because I'm assuming he's going to post this on like, was TikTok a thing in 2017? Maybe not. Well, I'm assuming he's going to post this on maybe YouTube or something, or it's just going to be in his book and he's doing it for added dramatic effect. But he's having this man lock him in the lighthouse so he can't even get out with a chain and like a big lock. He's being like, and he's requesting that to be locked in the lighthouse. I'm just like, at this point, you're kind of asking for like, you're asking for the supernatural force to mess with you. Like, and maybe he is actually, because that would be good for his story. But it's like, obviously when people go against this supernatural thing, it's like humans 0, supernatural thing over a dozen. So I know it's fiction, but I'm just like, it's one of those times where I'm just like, I cannot understand why the character would do this. Like maybe he just really, really needs a new story. It hasn't said anything about him being like washed up or anything or needing money, but I don't know. Maybe I just don't have an adventurous bone in my body, but like, I don't know, comment below. Would you guys, after everything you know from what I've told you about the lighthouse, would you go in? Like, it just seems like a death wish. So anyways, I was just thinking about that and I was like, I have to whip out the camera real quick. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna keep reading. Okay, so I'm about 20 pages in now and I just wanted to update you guys with, okay, I understand a little bit why he's there. So he says and makes it known, which I'm kind of like, were these authors reading my mind? You know what I mean? Like that I have that thought of like, why would you even do this? And then not even just a couple pages later, he says like what his purpose of being there really is. And he says it's to find the truth. And I respect that because it's like, well, I would want to know the truth as well. I just wouldn't be brave enough to go find it. I'd be like, go ahead and report back. I'll be here. So that was nice. And I will say, okay, when he entered the lighthouse, footage stopped working. And by that, I just mean the camera. The audio was fine, but the camera was just blank, I guess, or black. So he realized that and he decided to move to his voice recorder only. So now that's what the author is doing. He's just speaking into his voice recorder, and that's what we're reading is his voice recordings. And he says he's going to go to sleep the first night. And then at 4 something in the morning, there's a voice recording where he goes, and again, I'm only 20 pages in, so this isn't like a spoiler. This is stuff you find out really soon. And also kind of expected when you're going to a haunted lighthouse. But at 4 in the morning, he records him mumbling, I don't want to, they're ... my friends. Again, picturing Nicolas Cage. So one of the very first stories that he says within these 20 pages, I'm assuming a lot of this is going to be more detail on the cases that have happened at the lighthouse, because he kind of just barely mentioned them, and then he's gonna go, it sounds like, in depth as he stays in the lighthouse. So the first occurrence that he really dives into is a family massacre by a family friend, and the family friend had been at the lighthouse playing games with the family, the husband of that family, and then someone else, I think. And he had gone to the bathroom, which apparently is like the grossest, okay, maybe not gross, but like eeriest, creepiest bathroom ever, because it's like completely dark, or maybe there's just like one tiny light. So that sounds like my worst nightmare, because it sounds like the creepiest bathroom ever. The story goes that this man wrote down, the man that killed the whole family, wrote down on a piece of paper when he got home his supernatural occurrence, which had happened when he went to the bathroom at the lighthouse. And there was a woman in a white robe that I guess supposedly like seduced him, talked to him, and then like hugged him, I guess. They embraced, and then he went off and did the bidding that she told him to do. So yeah, that's kind of like the first ghost story we're told about the lighthouse. So I'm curious, as I keep reading, are they all going to say they saw this woman in white, or are all of them gonna have different stories because there's multiple supernatural beings there. Let's keep reading. Okay, well, the first supernatural thing occurred. If you don't want to hear, because you don't want to spoil it, I don't know that it's a spoiler though, because it happens so soon in the book, but if you don't want to know, skip ahead. I mean, it'll only take a second for me to tell you guys, so just skip ahead a little bit. But the first supernatural thing that happens to him is he finds this journal that the 12-year-old of the family that was massacred in the lighthouse, she was keeping, and he's like reading through it, and he goes to do something else, and a page that was blank when he went away, when he comes back on the page, it says, "We are here," and it used to be blank. So obviously there's more than one ghostie, and now you've woken them up and you're locked in this house. Like, good luck. Good luck. Anyways, I'm finally gonna go make my coffee and then we'll keep reading. It is just so cozy. Okay, I have my iced coffee. It's an iced oat milk cold brew with oat milk. It's a La Colombe coffee, the vanilla one. Same as yesterday. I'm obsessed with them. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna keep reading, sip on my latte, and then I'll update you guys whenever there's something I want to react to. But yeah, okay, talk to you guys soon. This book is so good. I'm having so much fun with it. This is exactly the type of like horror thriller combination that I thrive off of. I love this so much. I'm not even 100 pages in yet, but I am close. I'm like 80 something pages in, and I'm taking a break to go like make a smoothie and possibly watch some Mom Talk. I literally just started watching it last night and I'm hooked. Who knew Mormon wives on TikTok or whatever would make such a good reality show, like, but it's so good. So anyways, I'm gonna take a break real quick, but I wanted to check in just to say, so far in the book, okay, the guy that I said was like Nicolas Cage vibes, in my head anyway, we're done with his story as of now. So I'll just say that, so there were lots of recordings after my last update with that man in the lighthouse. I'm not gonna say what happened to him because I don't want to spoil anything, but I will say that we're done with his storyline now, and it has moved on to articles about what happened to him. Again, I'm not gonna spoil, but I will say that we've moved on, so it kind of showed us some articles about like the story and what the average person knows about what happened. And it sounds like a lot of the recordings were released, but some of them weren't. And then there were also just a lot of open-ended questions regarding him and his case with the police. So after we're kind of done with his storyline and we see the articles about what happened with him, then we move on to a Reddit thread, which I'm literally like, everything I wanted our first book to be, this book is giving me all of that. I'm like, wait, this book is so much better. We're getting a Reddit thread where it's like 3 or 4 people. One of them is a ghost hunter, and they're talking about going to Widow's Point, and they're talking about the 2017 story with the Nicolas Cage guy. So we're just gonna refer to him as Nicolas Cage guy, okay, from here on out. So now we're in 2025, and we're seeing security footage from Widow's Point. So I'm assuming that ghost hunter either went to Widow's Point by himself or with other people, and now we're gonna see his story. But I don't know yet because I haven't read that far. Okay, I have made it to page 164. I am loving it. I love a good found footage movie, and this reads so much like a movie. Like, I really feel like I can see the movie playing out in my head, which is so fun. Like, it's just such a fun experience. I will say, okay, so everything that I've already told you that happened, now we are in 2025, like I left off telling you the last time we talked. But I'm gonna fill you in on just a little bit more of the plot that's happening, because it seems like that is actually most of the book, and the stuff that happened in the beginning is just a very small snippet, almost like a preface to the actual story. Like, I feel like if it were a movie, that first part that we've already talked about would have happened, and then the title of the movie would have come on, you know, and then it would have been like actually the movie. So anyways, the part that we're in now, we're following one ghost hunter for like a paranormal investigation TV show, and one professor that used to live in the area that actually writes papers and stuff on supernatural hauntings. I think that's what her thing is like she goes to haunted places and then tries to figure out why they're not actually haunted. I forget what that's called, but she's a professor of that. So that's her thing. And both of those people were actually paid to be at the lighthouse, because they're all at the lighthouse, because a YouTuber with 100,000 subscribers, I think it was, he paid for them to be there along with Steph his camera. Well, Steph is his camera girl, but when they're inside the lighthouse, they have it all rigged with a bunch of cameras. So I think she's also there just as like another person with him, maybe like as an assistant slash like the talent. I don't know. I love that she's there though. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, well, she was the cameraman for the first part until they actually get into the lighthouse. But now there's a bunch of cameras. And then there's one other person that is the main camera guy, and he is actually in a van outside of the lighthouse. And the van is like rigged with a bunch of equipment where he can see all the cameras and has audio and everything. And it's a really cool setup for the story. And I'm really enjoying the different characters so far, just because we have the YouTuber who of course is like used to getting his way. He just wants to put on a production, make a show of it. But then we have the professor who used to live here, and she's more serious about it and isn't really here for the theatrics. Then we have the paranormal investigator TV show guy who is so excited just to be there. And then we have Steph, who is the YouTuber's friend, and she doesn't believe in paranormal, but the paranormal stuff in the lighthouse is happening mainly to her so far. And so I'm just like, and when she tells these boys, and again, she is the one that just doesn't really believe in any of this. She says herself in the book, I'm agnostic about it. Like, I just don't believe anything. She's the one telling them this creepy thing happened to me. And they're like, are you sure? Like, maybe not though. Maybe not. And it's like, you guys came here for supernatural stuff. And then you boys, when your friend says, oh my gosh, something paranormal and supernatural happened to me, it was really weird and it really creeped me out, you guys are like, was it your mind playing tricks on you though? Like, did it really happen though? I know we're in a super paranormal hotspot and we all believe in the paranormal, but I don't think it happened to you. Anyways, that made my blood boil. I was like, are you kidding me? The way I would have just left, like if someone didn't believe me when we were literally there to paranormal investigate and my friend was just like, did it happen though? I'd be like, then what am I here for? What am I here for if paranormal stuff happens to me and you're not even gonna believe me when it's like, you're the one person that should. Like, that's what we're here for. Anyways, that pissed me off. But yeah, so that's the setup for, I think, the rest of the book, and we're kind of unveiling different secrets and things that have happened leading up to this when it comes to the lighthouse, things that maybe we previously haven't discovered yet. And they brought a Ouija board. They haven't used it yet in the book, but they brought a Ouija board, and I'm like, you could not pay me enough. Especially, this is what I don't understand. I get it if you really are just that adventurous. And this is fiction, obviously. I know that. But I'm just talking like if it weren't fiction. And I feel like there are people out there like this, where it's like they'll go into these situations and they believe in the paranormal. And it's just like, so if you really believe in the paranormal, why are you going somewhere where people consistently die because of the paranormal? Like, that just seems like, what? I would absolutely never. But yeah, and then another thing happens, and Steph is the one that points it out that like, that was really weird. And both of the boys that are with her, they're just like, oh, it was probably just this. And I'm like, what? You guys are really annoying. But a part of me is like, is it only because, like, are they gaslighting her because they just don't want to leave? And so they're just trying to make it seem like, maybe it was just this, like, don't be too scared because they want her to stay. Maybe that's why. Oh, this was the other thing I was gonna say. The guy in the van, Jeff, okay, he's the one in the van watching all the screens or whatever. This man, he's on the grounds. He's like, the lighthouse is here, he's here. Like, he's on the ground and outside in his van. He leaves his van doors open when it's dark outside. I'm just like, you are in a haunted place and you are leaving your van doors open. Could not be me. Could not be me. But anyways, he leaves his van open. He's smoking weed. I'm like, again, in a haunted location? What? That's even more scary. No. He falls asleep. Doors are still open in his van. I just don't get it. And then like, it could never be me. And then he goes to close, he wakes up from sleeping and he's like, oh shoot, the doors are open. He goes over to close the doors. This part made me laugh. This isn't a spoiler or anything. It doesn't really matter, I don't think, to the plot. And if it does, I wouldn't know how it matters yet. So he goes to close the van doors. As he's doing that, he's like, wait, do I hear something? And he was like, is that the sound of a baby crying? And my thought is like, of course it's the sound of a baby crying. Have you never heard of a paranormal entity trying to lure you into the woods? Like, you guys are professionals at this. And I feel like I'm thinking smarter. But he actually was smart because he goes, I thought this part was so funny. I'm picturing him like looking out, hearing a baby crying in the woods. And he's like, and he goes, sorry, kid. Closes the door. I was cackling because I was like, bet. Okay, that could be me. That would be me. It's like, if I hear a baby crying in the woods in a haunted location, I'm sorry. Even if it's actually happening, like, I'm going to assume that it is the ghost trying to lure me so that it can do whatever it wants to do, take over my body, somehow unalive me. I don't know. Whatever the ghosty wants to do, it's like, I am not falling for that. So anyways, I thought that part was really funny. I'm gonna go make lunch and then we'll keep reading. Hey guys, it is the next day. I am so close to being done. I think I have less than 100 pages to go. So I'm definitely gonna just sit here and get this book done right now while I drink my coffee. It's the same as it has been. This is a romantasy themed cup, so it doesn't really fit the theme of scary books, but that's okay. But yeah, okay, so I'm just gonna drink my coffee, keep finishing the book. I literally just got back from the grocery store because we're about to have a winter storm where I'm at this coming weekend, so in a couple days, and I'm prepping for that. So I'm hoping to get this done today so that I can get this video edited and up for you guys before that winter storm comes. So yeah, so just an update for what I read yesterday. I literally read until it got dark. Like the sun was going down and I was in my room, like the window right here is just natural light because it's a window obviously. And I was literally reading until it was too dark outside for me to read. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna call it quits now because now it feels like it's getting into, it will be really scary if I keep reading. So I made the executive decision to stop as soon as it got too dark because this book is kind of scary, especially if I were reading it at night. I think I would be so scared. Anyways, okay, I'm gonna keep reading, drink my latte, and I will update you guys probably when I finish it unless something crazy happens that I wanna react to without spoiling it. Hey guys, okay, I officially finished Widow's Point. Let's talk about it. I have one of the new Alanis here. It's okay. It's the cherry bomb one. I think it's for like Valentine's Day vibes. This straw, I have had this straw since Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson did that makeup collab, and I was obsessed with Jeffree Star during that time, and I got like a Jeffree Star makeup mystery box, and this came in it because it was during Christmas time, and I ever since then have used this straw specifically for energy drinks. It's like the perfect fit for it. Okay, because I needed some energy because I did not sleep well last night, and literally while I was reading, my thumb started twitching on its own, and I was like, okay, your girl is either dehydrated or, okay, it could be from too much caffeine, but I think it's because I got so little sleep last night, and I was starting to feel that while I was reading, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna have some caffeine so that I can power through the rest of the day and then like sleep really well tonight. I'm gonna take some melatonin, like we're gonna go hardcore into getting some deep sleep tonight. So Widow's Point, I really enjoyed the ending. I will say if I got to choose like what the ending was gonna be, I probably would have chosen something a little bit different, but that's just because of what I prefer when it comes to book endings. But this was pretty good. I don't know that I would rate it 5 stars. I'm trying to decide now because literally I just finished it, so I'm like processing. I think in the end it's between a 4 and a 4.5 because this was a very solid horror thriller book. Like it had me on the edge of my seat. The reading process, the experience that it was reading it because of how it was broken up and things like that, I really enjoyed, and that was a really fun and unique and different kind of experience within a horror thriller. So I highly recommend after my reading of it. I think it was really creepy. It has all the kind of supernatural creepy vibes of a haunted lighthouse, and it's just kind of fun, and it feels like a found footage movie except for it's in a book, obviously. I think what I wish with this is just that it would have had more of an explanation, but I totally understand when it comes to ghost stories and things like that. It's more spooky when there isn't an explanation or like one thing that started it all, because it did feel like towards the end we got a little glimpse into some of the things that may have led up to it being haunted and everything, but I wish that we could have had even more of like a backstory for it. But other than that, really solid read. So yeah, anyways, I love you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me in this reading vlog. I have to say I agree with the fact that Widow's Point is the highest rated book on my TBR, and then Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke is the lowest. I kind of agree with that opinion, so I don't really challenge it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, of course, if you made it this far, and if you made it this far, comment some kind of like snow or ice emoji down below in the comments just for funsies, and I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!